Hi everyone and Happy New Year. It's Rach here from Rara's Realm. I can never say that properly. I don't know why I just called myself that. I am coming to you from the 1st of January 2018 and here in New Zealand. You are all catching up. I've just seen the fireworks from London, so I know that slowly everyone is progressing towards 2018. I'd like to wish everyone who is coming back to view my videos a welcome and a thank you, and hope that your holiday season went well. And for all the new subscribers that are signing up currently, welcome to my video. This video is a kind of a foundation, a baseline of what the year is going to be. So I'm going to show you the projects that are currently planned for starting, plus a conundrum. Yeah, we'll crack on. I have a finish, which I didn't even show you the start in the last video. I should put my eyes on so I can actually see what I'm looking at, or read what I'm looking at. So in the previous video I showed you two floss box charts and said I had a third one, but it was in the other room, which was what I worked on. So this is the chart. Just a nice little stitch that will make a nice ornament. I made a couple of changes, didn't change the colours, but I did take the moon out because I just don't like it facing that direction. I don't know why, it doesn't sit right with me. And I didn't do, if I can show you, the bows at the top of the presents because I couldn't figure out from the diagram included, what do they call it, lazy daisy, couldn't figure out how to do it, so I just didn't do it, basically. So this is my second finish from 2017, complete with wrinkles, because I stitch in hand. So this hasn't actually been ironed or anything. I just finished it up, chopped off the bit of fabric that was excess and stuck it away in the drawer, and it can just stay in the drawer. At some point during the year I will fully finish it. So this video, I just really want to show what the plan of attack is now, so that if you're new to me, you don't have to go back and watch the other ones if you don't want to. You can start now and it'll all flow on from here. I'm not carrying anything over. Just a very quick recap. Picked up my needle again late September, early October, and I had just under a third finished of Lizzie Kate's 6 Fat Snowmen. So my goal was to finish that, and that's primarily what I worked on and finished in early December. And this little floss box, small, was just a tide over until today when I could start. So my plans, I have, I'm not going to say how many projects because this is my conundrum. What I have got is a 40-day rotation, and at the moment there are 8 projects and each project gets 4 days, and I have 2 4-day free blocks in the rotation. My little cat is deciding to go for a wander, except the neighbour's taking his Christmas lights down and that's going to give him the spooks. Those 2 free slots are to either finish a block on something that's really close to finishing and frustratingly you want to work on it the next day but you've got to change to another project, so I can take some time in the free block to do it. It's also a little bit of downtime if I want it, and slightly sidetracking from that, I had about 4 days from finishing the floss box small till starting today, and while I really wanted to stitch, I was I quite liked not having to pick something up and do it. So just knowing there is a bit of a break here and there is, I think, will help make it manageable, because I'm going from being a one project at a time girl to multiples. I think I wrote on somebody's thread in one of the stitching groups on Facebook that this year is either going to be bloody amazing or it's going to be an epic fail. So we will see. So I think I've recapped enough like that. So I have got 8 projects at the moment, and I have a conundrum, and I have a 40-day rotation. So at the end of 40 days I'll be back again to number 1. So I'm going to just stick a pin in that. I'm going to open this to get the names and everything order right. So the project that I have started today, project 1, is Little House Needleworks Orchard Valley Quilting Bee, and I'm starting up at the top here, and you'll see how much I've done this morning in between the washing and sorting my mother out. That's the other thing I possibly should mention for all the new people that are signing or subscribing. I care for my mother, so I have lots of time to stitch at the moment, unlike previous years where it's fitted around full-time work. So I am at home, I care for my mother full-time, so I have the time to do what I'm doing. Anyway, so my start for today. So we've got the top left-hand corner and the start of the little flowers that are going on there. And one of the other reasons of doing this video slightly early is that there are 2 2020 cricket matches starting this afternoon in an hour's time on the TV, and that will be great stitching time. So I get this video done, I can get it up, and then I can carry on. So my other start this week, which will be 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th of January, is going to be the village of Hawk Run Hollow. This one, I think realistically I will not, I don't know how far I'm going to get with this until I start seeing how quickly the blocks fill up, but people who seem to do it in rotations seem to take a good couple of years to get it done, and I'm resigning myself to the fact that that's what's going to happen. So that's project number 2. Project number 3 is what I'm terming mediums. Now there's a backup to that because, which I'll show you at the end, there's been a new mystery cell released today. And I'm very, very interested, and I'm kind of thinking that I might stitch this medium. So this is the first planned medium, Harvest Keeper by Plum Street Samplers. I just love the flower on her bum. And then when I finish that, instead of doing another medium piece, that's when I might do this cell. I just don't know. I don't know if it's whether it's just too much. Anyway, so mediums is project number 3, which means that I should be able to do, if I don't add this mystery cell in, I should be able to do 2 or 3 mediums over the course of the year, maybe. Until I've had that first 40 days, I'm not going to know what's realistic, and I will do a review and a recap of that at that point. Okay, so that was mediums. Project number 4 is going to be the Garden Series Club by Blackbird Designs, and I'm going to do all 12 on one piece of fabric. I don't think there's any images on that, but you can find images on Pinterest of all the pieces together. I should have got it out, shouldn't I? I don't think I can get it quickly. This is a starting point. Project number 5. So between 4 and 5 is one of the 4-day free slots. Project number 5 is Santa's Village, and I've done block 1 already. I'm doing that, all 12 of those on one piece of fabric as well as a one piece. So I've completed bar the French knots. The French knots will be done at the end because I stitch in hand, and I typically roll up into a very small window when I'm stitching, so I'm going to leave the French knots off this for the time being. So I did this one in November, December as part of a stitch along through the Little House and Country Cottage Needleworks Facebook group. So I'm also going to do, rather than go across the fabric, I'm going to go down because of how I stitch. So I'm not sure what the next chart is off the top of my head. I should have looked into that, but I forgot to. Project number 6 is a free Quaker chart. It's Quaker in 6 parts, I believe it's called. I don't have an overall picture of it again, but again you can Google or Pinterest it quite easily and find it. But this is just a sort of a view of the top section. And I'm going to do that. I think I've got a raw linen, and I'm going to be using Presidential Blue, I think it's called. And I don't know whether I've got 4 at the skeins at the moment. I don't know if that's actually going to be enough, but we'll just cross that bridge when we get to it. That's number 6. Number 7, if you watched earlier on and then you've skipped and you've come to today, has changed. Originally I was going to do the 13th Bay Colonies by the Bay Needle Arts, but I have joined another stitch along that was originated through Sampler World on Facebook, and they have chosen for their large stitch along Lucy Calcutt. So I think, as I explained in my previous video, but if you don't go back and watch, basically they gave nominations for charts. I had 2 of the charts. In fact, I had 3 of the charts, but they didn't pick one because of the cost of the chart. There were parameters that they wanted to have for the charts available, and I decided that if the group chose either of the 2 samplers I owned, I would take part, and if it was something completely different, I would just watch. I wasn't going to take part. I already owned Lucy, and I nominated the Polka Dot Cowl. I can't remember the rest of it, by GGR, but Lucy won. So I decided that I would do her, and I would swap out the By the Bay, and I will put that in when there's next a gap. So I've got the chart, but I don't have the fabric or the threads at the moment. It's charted for DMC or silks, and I'll be doing it in DMC. And then project number 8 is a twofer thing as well, really, because, and I'll explain in a minute. So first of all, this is another freebie. This is by Hands to Work, and I found it on the internet, and you've seen this around somewhere too. You can still download the chart or print it off. I managed to get it. I can't remember how I came across it now. So that's what I'm terming a small, and the stitch count is it's 90 by 101, so it's, you know, it'll take a couple of weeks to do in my rotation slot, but it should stitch. And the idea in the smalls category was that I would get a few ornaments done and some finishes and things like that, because the bigger pieces are probably not going to finish much. However, thanks to Diane Williams at Little House Needleworks, she has announced, and if you're fans of Little House, you'll probably already know this by now, because it's been about 3 weeks ago, I think, that it was announced, give or take. So she's starting a new 9-part series in late January called Farmhouse Christmas, and I think they are smalls, but I will be doing it as one piece. So I am putting my smalls category and Farmhouse Christmas in the same Project 8 slot. I'm on auto ship from Crazy Annie's Stitching in the US, so it's going to take a while to get to me. So I'm figuring there are going to be times where I'm waiting for the chart, I'm up to date elsewhere. I'll just do a different small in the meantime. I'll start on something. So that's how that's going to go. So that's Project 8, smalls plus the Farmhouse Christmas. My dilemma now, whether I do mediums and this mystery stitch along, is that Modern Folk Embroidery has announced a mystery stitch along called 4 Seasons, A Primitive Quaker Year. Now the photo I'm going to show you is not going to do it justice because I'm running out of ink in my printer. This is what has been released today. Just a sample of January's chart. Now this is, he says that it's to do with the seasons, and that they are the Northern Hemisphere seasons. So like I can see snowflakes and this and the reindeer and stuff like that. So it's going to be out of sync for me, but I'm not too worried about that. My dilemma is, do I want to add another one in? Or do I just print off the charts, buy them? They cost £1.50 UK money, obviously. I think it cost me, for this first week of January, he's selling part 1 for 75p. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, you get, even if you don't buy any more, you've still got a few motifs that you can build something from. So it cost me $1.50 New Zealand dollars to buy this first chart. £1.50 every month for the year to get the whole thing. So my dilemma is, do I do it or do I just buy the charts and wait for a slot to open up? So I don't know. I think at the moment it would possibly go in, as I mentioned, in with the mediums. Does it say what the stitch count of this chart is? It just talks overall. It's a big piece when it comes out. It's 382 stitches high by 251 stitches, crosses if you like, wide. So it's quite big, broken into 12 parts. I don't know. I'm beginning to talk myself out of it as I go through this with you all. So we'll see. We'll know more, and maybe at the end of the rotation we'll see. What else did I have on my little list? So I've gone through what I'm going to do. I don't have a lot of haul. In fact, I only have one thing. A while back I placed an order of a variety of things rather than just charts from 123 Stitch, and one was some fabric. I wanted to have a look at some of the higher count, is it? This is 40 count, I'll show you in a minute. Now that I have these magnifying things that come down here and I stitch a lot more comfortably, I wanted to see if I could do something on 36 or 40 count. So pretty much I talked myself out of everything other than one piece of fabric. And what I ordered, because it just was so pretty, and I had seen someone had shown it on something, and I don't know who and I don't know what now. I just wrote it down. and I decided I would go ahead and get a let me look, it's a Stitches 8th. Yep, I'll show you that page in a minute. And just have a look through the magnifier, can I do anything with it? And what I have brought is 40 count dwarf Newcastle, and it's showing up quite well in the light. I've not gone down any of the mottled fabric line before. I'm not sure what my view is on it, but I do like this colour blue. So I don't have any plans for anything on it at the moment. It looks freakishly hard to stitch on. I did look through the magnifier and it seemed okay, but I think until you use it, you're not really going to know. So that's my only thing. My nightmare of an order is now listed as awaiting shipping. So I'm hoping by the end of this week there's some movement on that. I was brewing, I've been writing a bit of a list of what I want to order from 123 Stitch in January, and I went to check on, I'm missing the last 3 from the Garden Series Club, 10, 11 and 12, and I went and checked on their status on 123 Stitch, and they don't have 10 in stock, they've got 11 and 12. So I went and had a look at everything cross stitch, and they had number 10 in stock. And then the other thing I checked on was the Little House Needleworks at ABC Samplers, the houses. I think the next 2 charts that I need to get from that series at 123 Stitch were out of stock, so I checked on everything cross stitch, and they were, I'm hoping they are in stock. There was nothing that suggested that they weren't. And some of them were also on sale. Not everyone, I don't quite know why some of the charts were on sale and not all of them, but some of them were on sale. So I actually made the decision to buy the remaining 8. I think 5 were on sale and 3 were still full price, and the number 10 Garden Series. So I placed that order on Saturday, I think, which was Friday in the States. So hopefully they'll get in the post sometime later this week as well. And I'll leave the 123 Stitch order now for towards the end of January. It should be after I kit up Lucy Calcutt, and then if I'm going to do this Quaker, I shouldn't be needing to buy a heap of stuff now. It'll really only be charts that catch my eye, and I think I will try and resist the I must have it now urge and sort of place an order once a month, and just get, you know, whatever's being released. I don't know the releasing schedule that the designers have. I know that sometime in the next 3 or 4 months there'll be what they call market in Nashville, possibly. I don't know. I don't know enough about that yet, because when I was stitching before, I never really took a notice of any of those things. I wasn't aware of floss tube. I wasn't really using Facebook for stitching stuff. So there's still a whole world to discover that I hear about through other videos, but I'm yet to experience. So we'll get there. Anyway, I think I have rabbited on enough. So I've shown you what my plan is, and what my start is today. My goal is going to be weekly videos, just to see the progress. So when I film again next week, there should be more progress with the Orchard Valley, and there'll be a start on Hawk Run Hollow. So we'll just see. One thing I have learnt about my rotation plans is that with the release of the Stitch Along today from Modern Folk Embroidery and the 2018 Linen and Thread Stitch Along, I feel like if I was to follow this again for next year, and you know, at the moment that plan would be to have something planned out for the beginning of next year, she says, being on the 1st of January, is to leave maybe a blank slot, so that if some of these stitch alongs that get released late in the day are interesting enough, there is room. I don't have to then swap something out or add more in and sort of get a bit anxious about how much is going on. I've seen the Linen and Threads January release, and that intrigues me, and I think what I will do is just collect the charts and just watch it evolve. I'm not into it enough to make me anxious about wanting to add it in, like the Modern Folk embroidery piece. So we'll see. Anyway, I think that is all I'm going to say. I've still managed to wrap it on for 26 minutes. I do my videos in one take. I don't go back and edit things, so sometimes there is a bit of waffle. Perhaps at some point over the year I will figure out how to tidy up my videos a bit. But in reality, if I think about it enough, I generally get off what I need to say without too much mucking around. You could be the judge of that. There doesn't seem to be a lot of stuff that needs fixing. So we'll see. We'll do weekly videos, and we'll see how we go. As I said, it'll either be bloody amazing or it'll be an epic fail. Right, so I'm going to put all these things away, and then I'm going to take the Orchard Valley Quilting Bee and sit down in front of the Cricut and see how much I can get done today. As I said, Happy New Year to everyone when you watch this. I hope all your stitchy plans are in place and you're excited like I am to stitch all the things. And I will catch you next week. Alright then, take care. Bye bye.